This week's sponsors are Katie Cannon Photography, an award-winning newborn and children's portrait photographer based in Liverpool, capturing those first precious moments and creating memories that will last a lifetime. Katie has 15 years experience working with children. Please give her a follow. All the information will be in the description. You won't be disappointed. Thank you. Hello everybody and welcome to the Billy Moore podcast, and today's special guest is comedian Adam Rowe.
What's
Adam,
happening? Thanks for having us.
thank you for coming on, mate. How are you?
I'm alright, yeah, I'm good at the minute. Things are okay. I've got no complaints in life the past few months. So
You've been very busy, haven't you?
it's been, after the least busy year of my life,
Yeah.
we've come back and we're in full flow. So yeah, it's been a shock a couple of months, but I'm a better person when I'm busy. If I've got nothing to do, I end up, my head gets scrambled and I just get ratty and stuff, and I'm bored and irritable.
I don't. Do you know what? You can always say that, mate. Keep busy. You either get busy living or you get busy like depressed or dying or
like if I've got a day off and I spend it doing fuck all, I get to the end of it and I feel horrible. I just feel like just dirty. Even if I've had a bath, I just feel grim and like I've done nothing with my day. And like I always think on your deathbed, you're gonna be like, I could have done something with that day. If I had that day, you wouldn't do it again. I still do it because I'm a hypocrite with myself. But like, yeah, I'm a much better person when I'm busy, and like I'll treat me missus more if I'm busy because I know she's got to put up with the fact that I'm away or I'm working or whatever. So she gets a lot more attention. And
he says, don't he? The devil gives work to where it lands.
yeah.
So when you're on your own and you're in bad company, for me, I can identify with that. You know, when I'm alone, it's like I've got loads of intrusive thoughts that come through the back door of my mind, and it's like
I have to be knackered at the end of the day so that my brain just doesn't run at 100 miles an hour as I'm trying to go to sleep. If I've done fuck all and I'm not that tired and I'm trying to sleep, my brain's just like, hey, imagine if you were in a hot air balloon and it fell. Just like the thoughts that come into my head as I'm trying to doze off at midnight. If I've done nothing, if I could still be awake, my brain's just like, hey, you know what I mean? You're going on a plane in a couple of months, aren't you? You're going on holiday. Imagine if it crashes into a mountain. And then I'll imagine it happening and you just can't sleep at all. Yeah.
I've had talking about planes, mate, and wanting to crash. I remember coming back from Thailand years ago and I'd met this girl and she couldn't even speak English, but I had loads of feelings for her. I don't know why. Yeah. I was quite emotionally immature and I was all over the place with it, and it ended and I'm on the plane and I remember the plane going through some turbulence and I was thinking I couldn't be arsed if this crashed. But there was passengers, seriously, there was passengers screaming. And I was like, oh, come on, just hit the jack, man, come on. That's how bad it was, you know, like.
Do you know what, right? I'm terrible with flying. And apparently it's a really common thing with comedians. I don't like roller coasters either. And apparently it's to do with being in control of your own sort of destiny and life and that. Because once you're on a plane, there's nothing you can do. And it's the same with roller coasters. It's just not for me. But when I'm actually in mid-flight, even with turbulence, I'm actually all right. It's the taking off. And I don't mind landing either. Some people hate landing, don't they? You know that bit when you're taking off where for like 5 minutes you just get an iron and you can feel it in your stomach. Oh, we've gone up another 1,000 foot. Like it just knocks me sick. I can't look out the window. I just. But once I'm in, if I get a bit of turbulence in the middle of the sky, I sort of have this attitude of like, if I can't fucking do anything about it now, if this is the end, it's done. But if you're just off the ground, I feel like you know.
It's that lack in control, isn't it? The further you go up, you're relinquishing that little bit of control. So eventually it's out of your hands anyway.
You're just done. Yeah.
Why do you think? I like the topic where you've come up with, you know, about you when you're not busy and you're not doing nothing. You know, you're on one, right? Why do you think that is? Because a lot of people go through that because a lot of people suffer with mental health due to that. So can you imagine doing that, right? Nothing. Yeah. Day in, day out, right? Where would you be? And there's lots of people out there that do that.
I find it very easy to do nothing, and I'm addicted to this. My phone, like, it's horrendous how often I'm on that. My screen time would knock anyone sick. And obviously, for a lot of it, it's work because I've got to share videos, tweet about stuff. You know, you got to be sort of active as a comic. But if I'm doing nothing, I'm on that, and you're just filling your head with shite and opinions of people who you would never listen to if you met them in person. I'd just be... I've always liked work. Although I've found something that I love and like I'm obsessed with, and I love going to work now, and I'll work for free on my nights off just to get better at it. I've always worked my arse off. Like when I was 16, I worked in Mackey's, and if there was someone who didn't turn up for the next shift, I'd just stay in and just do it, because in my head I'm like, that's another 40 quid that. And then when I worked in bars, I'd do like I worked in a nightclub called Envy for years, and like we'd show the footy, so sometimes you're in at 10 in the morning for the midday kickoff, but it's a nightclub, so you're in till 7 the next morning. You're doing a 21-hour shift, and I was just never asked. I'd rather be working. So I don't think there's a scenario where I'd ever be doing fuck all. Like, I can do it for the day, and then I feel dirty in the next day. Like, I'll go somewhere. I'll go Crocky Park and walk around and get a coffee, and I'll come into town. Even when I was skint, I'd go into town and just walk around the shops and just have a little nose about, get a cup of tea, whatever. I'd rather just be doing anything than just be sat doing fuck all. So I think I'd figured out something to do.
I think you'd struggle in jail. And
Oh, I'd absolutely struggle in jail. That's one of my biggest fears, you know, is getting like framed for something and ending up in prison. Because I've never been sort of, you know, we've all made mistakes and whatever, but I've never been bad enough where I'd end up in prison with anything. It's just never been in my nature. And any sort of bad behaviour was sort of screamed out of me by my ma long before she left us. She raised us well, do you know what I mean, to be a good lad. And obviously I'm a little shit sometimes and whatever. And I can't go to jail, mate.
I think that the worst prison I went to, right, you know, there's no secret, you know, done a long time. But the worst one I remember, I was about 25 and I was locked up in Stafford, right? Yeah. And it was like the bottom of the barrel for Cat C's. Now Cat C's, you got Cat A's, Cat B's, Cat C's, Cat C's. So they go down, they categorise and they go up. Cat C was like, it was like the worst Cat C in the UK, and it was 23.5 hour bang up. So you got out of your shell for half an hour. And that half an hour was to get your meals, right? So you had like 10 minutes, 3 times a day. And the silence was like, it was just crucifying. It was torture. I went through that experience, and the only thing I could do to keep sane was like working out in a cell. I had to get tired somehow. Yeah. But you see a lot of people going through a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions.
Well, that's I've sort of looked into a lot of prison reform stuff, and my mate Carl, so he's the producer now of our podcast, Have a Word. He at university studied prison life and stuff, and he's sort of obsessed with it. And it's a big problem with the American jail system in particular is, and I'm sure you probably know this yourself, you've probably spoke about it on an episode before, the reason they keep a lot of prisoners in jail for as long as they can and keep sort of nicking them for, oh, you get another 6 months because you robbed the ciggies or whatever. In prison, there's nothing to do except read and work out. So what happens is people get sent to jail as a criminal, and they just get smarter and stronger while they're in there. So they can't release them. Because there's these career criminals who still want to be criminals, and they're now just buff as fuck and a lot more intelligent because they're well read. So it's a big part of it, is a big part of the problem with the prison system, and there's fucking hundreds and thousands of reasons why there should or shouldn't be prisons and whatever. But that's a huge problem they have over there, is we're just making them more intelligent and stronger, and you can't really...
Yeah, they've stopped, I think I read something about where they've stopped them lifting a certain weight or training, bodybuilding, because of like they're getting bigger.
Yeah,
you know,
it doesn't matter how many guards you've got if there's that many prisoners who are that strong.
You're struggling, and See, I read a second book called Fighting for My Life, and that was more about like the prison rehabilitation in the UK, for example. I compared a lot of other prisons to it, but the rehabilitation in the UK prison system today is quite it's a farce, you know what I mean? You've got young prison officers who are inexperienced now, because back in the day, I was no Mother Teresa, and I made mistakes, and I ended up in all the wrong places, and I take responsibility. I was accountable for my behaviour at the time. I was driven, no excuse. However, back then there was some sort of respect with prison staff. You know, they were a lot more austere and a bit more like, you know, they were together. There was unity with them. Now they're just fucking on poor wages. They're young, they're inexperienced, they're getting exposed to a lot of spice. They're getting exposed to a lot. They're quite vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, so I just think now, I don't know where it's going to go in the future.
I think, and I will often, and this will happen more than once in this podcast, I will speak as if I know about something when I've got fucking no clue about it. So take absolutely nothing that I'm saying as a fact. I think a lot of stuff will get decriminalised. Drugs, we're not far from weed being not a criminal offence, and even cocaine and stuff like that. And when I say not far, I'm talking maybe a decade, maybe 2, because they'll get to the point where there's so much, especially with more poverty, and the Tories are going to be in power for another 10 years, and that's a disgusting thing to be saying out loud, but it's a fact. There'll be more and more poverty, there'll be more and more violent crime, there'll be more and more robberies, there'll be more and more of this, and you'll get to a point where you can't put someone in prison because they sold 100 quid's worth of weed, because you need it for someone who stabbed someone.
Yeah, well, you don't know, do they? They changed anyway, because what happens now is like there's kids out there that are getting arrested for violent crimes where years ago you got arrested for something, you got remanded, and you had to go to court and go for bail. That doesn't happen no more. You get arrested, you get charged, you get bailed, and you can be on bail for 2 years. So you could be on a bail for like a Section 18, which is like a really serious assault where you've caused massive harm to someone.
Yeah.
And then go to prison at the end of it for 15 years. I know. I met these 2 kids, right? They went to they were on bail for like 18 months. They pleaded guilty after a certain amount of time, and then they were standing in Liverpool Crown Court, and they come back after being on bail, knowing that they were looking at a custodial sentence, come back with 18 years each. It's crazy. You know, knowing that you're going to get those kind of sentences, where are you going to go anyway? Where are you going to go to? So yeah, I agree with what you say there. I believe that going forward, there'll just be institutions outside that'll be kind of like rehabilitating people in the community a bit more differently. Yeah,
my mate would abolish prison completely, and he's looked into this a lot more than I have. He's just like, it just doesn't work. Yeah. It just doesn't work at all. And like I say, I haven't really looked into it, but yeah. I think the only thing that could send me to prison, if someone comes for me, I can deal with that. You know, if like I got like jumped in town, which has happened before, like if you get a knobhead who just decides they're gonna, I can live with that and be like, oh, a bit unlucky. If someone hates someone I love, like me missus or my little brother, my little brother's a little gobshite, but I love him. Yeah. And if someone hates him or my dad or my best mate, then I'll end up killing someone. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I know I've got it in me to absolutely break someone's neck and feel no remorse if they've hurt someone I love. So that would be my line. That would be where I end up in jail, is someone does something really serious to someone that's important to me. That's what they say, isn't it? Like the power of love. You know, and it doesn't mean like an emotion in any other way, like lust. It's like, it's love, like it's unconditional. Yeah, you know, it is. And I don't know where we're going with the prison stuff, like, but I think it went from like not going to work and feeling shit about yourself to ended up we're all on remand here at the minute. Yeah, so just tell us a little bit about yourself, because I don't really know your background, and it's, you know, you're a young kid, you've done really, really well. You've got a podcast set up. You're all over the UK doing festivals. Yeah, shows. So I grew up in Dovecot and moved to West Derby, and I've been in West Derby since I was 17, apart from 1 year that I spent in Chester for some family reasons. We can get into that in a bit if you want. But I started to stand up when I was 18 because I just loved it, and I've always loved it. My mum introduced me to it when I was young. I remember, got a very vivid memory of watching her watch Richard Pryor. And it was the Richard Pryor live one where the routine about his missus taking a piss in the woods, and she's like, you're not going to let me know if someone's coming, and he screams someone's coming, and she's not, and she pisses all over her knickers and stuff. And I was too young to understand most of what he was talking about, because I was literally a kid. But I've never seen, I think even to this day, I don't think I've seen anyone laugh the way I seen my ma laugh that day. And I just sort of fell in love with the whole art form from a very, very young age, and then grew up watching Live at the Apollo, and had every year at Christmas, my stocking fillers would be stand-up DVDs, like 2 or 3 of them, Lee Evans, Peter Kay, like whoever was out that year, Dylan Moran, just loads of them. And I just got obsessed with it. And then I was working in Mackey's, and one of the lads who worked there was like, I'm going to give stand-up a go, because he knew I liked it. Do you want to do it with me? We just said yeah, and we just did it, and then just got bitten by a bug of it and never looked back. And I'm a very inherently competitive person, but only with things I'm good at. Yeah. If I'm shit at something, I just stop doing it. Like, I'll play FIFA every night until my eyes are bleeding and I've got to go to bed. I'm not tired. I won't play Call of Duty because I never played it enough as a kid to get good at it. So if I turn Call of Duty on, I get shot and I just get fuming. I'll just throw the pad at the wall. I just can't handle it. And so with FIFA, because I've played this as a kid, I'm quite good at it, and I still play it to this day. And it's the same with everything else in my life. At school, I was brilliant at mathematics. Like I just got it. I had that brain. Yeah. So I just threw everything into maths and fucked everything else off. I still did all right in the other stuff. I was always a quite academic kid, but maths was the thing I focused on. And then as soon as I started stand-up, like when I started, I was shit. Like looking back, I watch it now and I cringe, and the jokes are awful and the state, everything's dreadful. But it was still going well. Because when you do a new act night, it's still easy to be the best on the bill because everyone else is new and shit as well.
Yeah.
So I was good at it straight away. Like my first 5 gigs all went really, really well. So I just got immediately competitive again, like I did with maths and like I would with FIFA. I was like, I can do this. And I just want to work.
Did you have any like fear of standing up in front of an audience? Did you have like self-obsession or what if this doesn't go my way? Because I know like that's probably my self-esteem and my confidence was quite low, and I know that because of the contributing factors that led to that.
Well, a lot of comedians, a lot of them have self-esteem issues, and that's why they're on stage in the first place. There's no comedian who's mentally healthy.
Yeah, it
just does not exist. We're up there for a reason. Yeah. Whether it's you need attention, validation, we're up there to find something from a room full of strangers. Right. I think when you're new, you know, there's still a nerve of doing something new. And I suppose I probably did get nervous the first few times, but it's never something that I worried about. Because I just felt like it was part of the process. And I certainly don't get nervous now. You get the odd like, oh, this is a big gig.
Yeah.
I'm walking out on that stage in front of to do this show, or with this comedian, I'm working with this guy. There's still that, but that's, I suppose the actual feeling in your stomach is very similar between nervousness and excitement. And I just always interpret it as excitement. If I've got butterflies, I'm excited, I'm not nervous. It's, oh, this is going to be cool. Like,
because once you're open your mouth and you're on a roll, it's okay.
Yeah, you get one joke, and you go, oh, you just remember that you know what you're doing.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing it 11 years now, and there's not many 29-year-olds who've been doing comedy 11 years.
No, I didn't realise how young you was. I had a little look at your Wikipedia, and it was like Adam Rowe, 29. Yeah. First, you won I think you won something in 2011 in the Hot Water Comedy. Yeah. So that was going to say, I don't really do the research because I don't really watch the podcasts and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of my own or nothing. Right?
Yeah, I'm not. There's a couple of podcasts I put on if I've got a long drive, but for someone who's got quite a decent sized podcast now, people are like, oh, what podcast do you listen to? I'm like, I fucking don't really. Yeah. There's a couple of American comedians, and I put theirs on if I've got like, if I'm driving to London and it's 4 hours, you can't listen to music for 4 hours, so I'll put a podcast on.
I like to listen to like the likes of philosophers and you know, facts and stuff like that. I don't really listen to other interviews. It's quite odd.
See, because I'm obsessed with stand-up, if there's a podcast episode with a comedian that I really admire and look up to,
you'd watch it.
I want to know what they think. I want to know how they work, because I'm trying to be better than them. Yeah. Eventually. I'm not saying I will be next year or even now. I'm saying in 20 years, I want to be in the conversation as who was better, Adam or this guy. Yeah. So I want to learn how they work, what they work and what they think, how they believe stand-up should be done, how they believe it shouldn't be done. So it's not even about them being funny. I like listening to comedians talk about their process and how they figure shit out, because I'm competitive and I'm determined to be better at stand-up than I already am. And I'm already all right at it. Yeah. So you've got to listen to people who are better than you rather than people who aren't as good.
Yeah, that's the one, isn't it? I was reflecting then on what you were saying about your mum listening to Richard Pryor. I mean, he was like, there was the likes of Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor. I grew up on them, and Chubby Brown. I remember getting a cassette tape. Some people will not know what one of them is. I don't even know if you will. A cassette tape on a Sony Walkman with a pair of headphones, little orange ones, right? And lying in bed late at night and just giggling, right? I must have been about 13, 14, giggling, and my mum was like, the next day, what was you laughing at? You know what I mean? And I was just in stitches with this, because it was just different kind of, it was a different kind of like comedy to what I'd heard. You know what I mean? I've been watching like Benny Hill and fucking all that gear growing up.
Well, what stand-up has become now, sort of, you know, that evolved around the time you're talking about, and you know, Richard Pryor was sort of one of the godfathers of modern comedy, and Billy Connolly was probably the one over here. Brilliant, who invented what I do. Because before it was 4 men in suits telling one-liner jokes that they did in the pub. And Richard Pryor and Billy Connolly took it to a level of, I can just talk about my life. I can talk about what it's like to work on the docks, and I can have a laugh about that, and it's relatable, and it just changed what...
Same, yeah.
He carried it on. It's changed what stand-up comedy was. Stand-up comedy used to be a man telling jokes, not stories, not observations. It was, do you hear about my mother-in-law? Blah, 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 punchline. Whereas now, you can go and see a comedian who doesn't tell a joke in a whole hour, and you're still dying for an hour and a half, because it can be quite a soul-bearing thing. And Richard Pryor was definitely sort of the godfather of that in America, and I think Billy Connolly did it over there.
See, it's mad as well, because you like the likes of Robin Williams and Richard Pryor, they all had the team, and somewhere along the line there's a lot of like comedians, and you've probably done your history on this as well, and your research, and like, there's a lot of comedians that have suffered.
All of them.
Suffered
mentally,
like mentally.
Well, it's very, very, very similar to doing drugs. Now, I've never been a drug guy. I've smoked a bit of weed as like a sort of social thing. Never been for me. I've done a couple of lines of coke. It's not for me. It's just not my thing. Never got addicted to it. I like a pint or a rum or a whiskey with one ice cube in. That's my vice.
I'd love that, to be fair, but I can't.
And I just, it's never been me. But comedy, the effect doing comedy has on a comedian is the exact same as doing Class A drugs, and you can't replicate it. And I wanted to do, there was a couple of years ago, I was talking to a psychologist, because they're now a psychologist. At the time they were a psychology student at the University of Cambridge, and she was talking about like comedians and the mental illness within comedians and stuff, and I said I'd like to do a study and find out, does being mentally ill make you do comedy, or does doing comedy make you mentally ill? Because there's no way to replicate the feeling that it gives you, and that's what a lot of comedians have struggled with in lockdown over the past 18 months. Right, if you go on stage in front of, like, Hot Water Comedy Club holds 224 people. That's a sold out room in that little basement they've got, right? And some comedy clubs are even bigger, 400, 500. But let's say 200 people, right? You go on stage in front of 200 people and you say something that you thought is funny. And 200 people
stare at you.
No, they laugh at once. Big laugh, round of applause. That's hilarious. Oh my God, that's how funny that is. Oh, you're amazing. Standing ovation at the end, cheering. Give it up for Adam Rowe. The room goes mental. And then you go home to either an empty house, because a lot of comedians are single, or they go home to their missus, who's like, will you do those fucking dishes? That come down. The worst come down in the world as a comedian is going to a hotel room on your own after the show. I will never do a big tour without a support act. I always want a support act there, so you can have a drink with and a chat with after the show, and a bit of a shared experience. If you're on your own and you go from hundreds or maybe thousands of people laughing all in unison at something you've said, the serotonin and endorphin rush that gives your brain, you can't match it. And it's such a come down when you're sitting in a hotel room with fucking porn up in your left hand and your dick in the other. There's no way it can be replicated, and that's why comedians suffer. It's because they've essentially just done a fucking shitload of lines of cocaine, and then there's no cocaine left, and they're on a come down in a hotel room on their own at midnight in fucking Nottingham. And you can't match it. There's nothing you can do to get it. There's not a drug in the world that can match it for you. We're all crackheads. That's why comedians struggle.
We're all chasing some kind of drug.
Yeah.
Right, whether it's a physical or it's a mental.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've learned that over the years. For me, it was physical, and it kind of got a grip of me in the 80s, and it took hold of me, and it took me down the wrong fucking path. You know, it took myself down that path with it. Yeah. And I looked at my brother, and I've done a little bit of like sort of, you know, like I've reflected on a lot of things. And my brother, he was in the army, he was addicted to going to war, literally, right?
Wants to fight,
Afghanistan, Bosnia. He'd done the Gulf a lot. He's been everywhere, and he was addicted to that. And he's left the army now, and it was quite difficult because he's quite disciplined. And what does he do now? And he's a bus driver, and he's doing really well. But he likes to be, he needs to be doing something like, because it's like a drinking environment as well, the army, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, where I'm going with this is like, you can be addicted to something like you're addicted to like comedy and the feelings that you get from it, but you're also aware now that you need some kind of support to kind of alleviate.
Oh, 100%. And a big thing for me is trying to take people with me. And there's an American comedian who really does this to the best level. His name's Andrew Schultz, and we've become friends over the past few years. New York-based comic. And the industry, the whole comedy industry in America told him to fuck off, said no to him for years. And he went, I'll do it on my own. And he did. And he's built this massive platform. And as a result of that, he got a Netflix special that he built on his own. There's no one shouting about him. He's doing it himself. And he's built these big tours, and his YouTube channel's enormous. And he takes the people he loves and his mates and the people who help him with him. And that's what we're trying to do with Have a Word, the podcast. We hired me best mate to be our producer. He knew fuck all when we hired him. It was just learn on the job, you'll get better at it. We've just given him a cut of the company because he deserves it, because he's earned it. They've got a couple of other lads who are now part of the production team. And they're as big a part of the team as anyone else. We're all doing it together. A couple of weeks ago, very, very fortunate, I got asked to do the new series of Live at the Apollo. As soon as we were going, every other comedian's just there on their own. They're doing the show. I took me best mate down, me missus, me oldest mate and his missus, me cousin and her fella, and me dad. And I just paid for the hotel for me dad and me missus and all that. Got them all down there because it doesn't. If you get to do Live at the Apollo, which is the peak of UK stand up, like on the telly. If you just go on your own and it's just whatever, great, you've done Live at the Apollo. But if you've got your alpha there and your missus and your best mate and you go for a drink afterwards and you celebrate, that's how I just think things should be done. Like, we all went out that night. I was the only comedian who went out for a drink after the show. I was looking at everyone else. Like, they went for a couple of drinks in the artist bar to speak to the guy who books Live at the Apollo and the BBC commissioner, and they're doing the schmoozing that everyone in show business has to do. I did that for half an hour. And then I went to my agent, look, I'm taking these to pub. And there was a little pub round the corner. And I went, let's just go there and get everyone a bevy.
I wonder if that works different for different people, because I know I've got a mate, John, you might know John May, right? Yeah, he does a lot of stand-up now on his own. Yeah. Right, he's got this show, The Corona Mums, and it's quite good. And he's doing well in that area. But I see him and I think, that's him on his own. Doing that on his own. Wonder how so I suppose to John, I know how he goes. I'm going to bring it into it anyway, John. You know what I mean? But yeah, so people deal with things differently. Do you think it's
yeah, but like what I do on stage is on my own. If I'm on stage, it's just me. There's no one else there.
But you've got something that like
it's a support network behind. Like, I can be on stage on my own. It's still my achievement. I've still done it. It's still me. It's just I want the people I love there to witness it and to share the experience with them, because having these cool as fuck nights where you're performing in front of thousands of people, what's the point if you're just on your own?
Yeah.
Oh, I did that. Who's asked? If no one cares enough to be there, like I'll do that for as long as people will come and be part of it with me. And bringing me other mates in to work as part of the thing, that was a big thing. And Carl's absolutely earned his spot now as a huge member of our team.
So how many have you got in your team? Because it sounds like you've got a few.
3 production lads. And there's me and Dan who host it.
Is that Do You Have a Word podcast?
Yeah. So we brought Carl in as the producer early on because me and Dan were sick of doing the editing of the episodes. And then we'd bought the studio, so our studio's in Runcorn. We're going to look at maybe moving to Liverpool next year.
I know where it's by Benel's studio.
It's by his comedy night,
yeah.
It's on the same site. And we brought Carl in to edit the episodes, and we also were like, we want to get at least one video clip out a week.
Yeah.
And make it look good with the subtitles and all that to go on social media to get more eyes on the actual podcast. And then we were like, we could get maybe 2 videos a week, and we get like an intern in. Like, we'll pay them, but someone to assist Carl. And then he come in and we were like, we could get like a clip out every day, and we could open a second studio. And then it just got to the point where we've opened Studio 2, which we now hire out. We've got Carl editing the full episodes and then making the clips. Finn, who's our first assistant producer, subtitling them. And then we've got a lad called Steve, who he's a mate of mine and he's a really good mate of Carl's, who we've brought in. And he does all the office management, so he tidies the old place, makes sure everything's nice and clean and tidy for each record day. And if there's any slack from Finn, like Finn's a musician as well, so when he can't get a subtitled video done in time, he just gives it over to Steve. And just having that full network of lads, everything gets done. We get a clip out every day. They're always dead good. They look amazing because like we've got the setup done. It's a proper team effort. and it works.
Yeah.
And it's going to continue to work, and we are just getting warmed up.
Brilliant. So how long have you been doing that for now?
Have a Word started January 2020, so a couple of months pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And then I think, I'm sorry to anyone who lost their nan or anything, but I think the pandemic actually helped us. I think when lockdown is, we went, well, we'll just do an episode every day then. If we're going to be locked up, we might as well do it. And I think that was a big catalyst in us going from just another podcast to a really popular one.
So did you start with 0 subscribers to begin with?
0. I had a few followers. So Dan didn't really. Like, obviously, he probably had like 2,000 or whatever. But as you know, on social media, that's fuck all, really. That's just your
YouTube's hard to get. It's a bit different from like Instagram and Twitter, you know. Yeah,
well, we started with literally 0 on YouTube because I've got no YouTube following. But I had a following on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook because of the Hot Water Comedy Club. And I started putting videos out from there a few years ago. And then I put some of my own out from like the Comedy Store and stuff. I'd amassed a small following from stand-up. And I'd done a couple of tours. So I had a very small but decent fan base. And that gave Have a Word an initial platform. So it just got, like, I think in the first week, we weren't on YouTube for the first like 7 months. We were just doing the audio.
Yeah.
And I think in the first week, we did something like 700 downloads and we were fucking made up. Wow. We were like, that'll do. That's great. Because Dan had tried to do another podcast on his own and he was sort of milling around the 200, 300 downloads mark. So we'd immediately doubled that in week 1 and a bit more. And we were like, right, we can build on this. And then within like 6 weeks, we were doing like 3,000 to 4,000 downloads on every episode. And we were like, oh, this is quite good, this. Then lockdown hits. And that we were doing sort of like 3,000 a day on each episode. And then as lockdown was sort of easing, the end of lockdown 1, we just bit the bullet and thought, let's buy a studio and take it up a level and see what. And, you know, we made a good decision at the right time. We got lucky and we've invested. Like, we've worked hard. We've put a lot of work in. And it's all just paid off. Because, like, I was about to say without sort of banging my own drum, but fuck it, I'll bang my own drum. We've, especially within the comedy industry, we've changed the face of UK podcasting. Because before we did it, there was no other podcast with a purpose-built studio. Yeah. There was no other UK comedy podcast putting full episodes on YouTube. And now they're all doing it. And we've had a couple of messages. The comedy industry can be quite bitchy, as any industry can. If you work in a builder's firm, there's always someone bitching about you, isn't it? And you're bitching about him with your mates. The comedy's like that. And I just decided a couple of years ago to stop being part of it. Like, you'll always slag someone off if they're being a knobhead. But the unnecessary bitching. And we've had a couple of messages from people in the industry going, fucking hell, have you seen all these people are copying what you do? And I'm like, good. Because if every comedian's got a good big podcast, then when I go on tour, I can be a guest on all of them and it helps me.
But there's a load out there that have got that are quite big names but quite small numbers. I've noticed. You know what I mean? Like myself, I think I started a year ago. I think James English was my first guest. I'd been one of his first guests a couple of years before, and I was never really into doing anything. Like yourself, I was never really into doing it, but I was getting asked to do a lot of podcasts, going on Soon Show, going on this one, on that one, and I was sick and tired of telling my story. And someone said, well, why don't you listen to someone else's for the change? So I thought, all right, why not? And set this little thing. This is my studio. I'll travel wherever I am, which I'm grateful for. It's quite small. And like yourself, I started off with 0. I think I'm nearly 20k now, which I've done. I think that's kind of grown organically because I can see some of these people who were out there, right, and the way they're doing all that clickbait and clout chasing and growing their views and numbers up. They can get, like, they've got smaller subs, but they've got bigger views due to what the content they're putting out. Well, I think I learned pretty quick that I don't want to go down that path where it's all toxic and negative and it's...
you just don't need to.
No.
And, like, this is what, like, I know, because I know how the industry works, that there's other comedians bitching about what we've done.
Yeah.
And I welcome it. Crack on. And keep whinging and keep blaming whatever. No one can take away what me and Dan have built from fuck all. And as of yesterday, as you've seen, the #1 podcast in the country, not in comedy, on all genres, the #1 podcast in the country. To build that from nothing in 18 months is impossible.
Yeah.
When you've got Catherine Ryan doing a podcast, Alan Carr, like these big household names, and we're ahead of them in the charts. That's not possible if the content's not fire every fucking week, and it is. And what I love about our episodes, right? This is genuinely me proudest thing of it. It's not when we have the most famous person on that the episode does the most numbers. It's when it's a great episode. So, like last week, we had a lad called Finn Taylor on, right? Now, Finn's done a load of telly, but he's not got this massive following. It's not like getting Alan Carr or Jimmy Carr or John Bishop on. He's just done a bit of telly, but he hasn't turned it into massive followers yet. He's doing a decent tour, but that's it. He's had more views in a week than we had with Russell Kane. It was also a great episode, but it's because we had a couple of clips from it do really well because they were funny as fuck.
Yeah.
So people then run to the episode, and that's what's put us at the top of the chart. It's not a famous person being on. It's the episode being great and people sending it to their mates and going, oh, you need to get on this. That's how you grow a podcast. You can put the most famous person in the world on your show.
So it, mate.
It doesn't matter because they tune in for them and then they go away and they're not your listeners.
I've had guests with over 1 million followers,
right,
sitting there, and the views are like they're hitting 30k. I've had guests, right, who weren't even going to put up, right. I've already recorded them and I thought, he won't do well, this kid. You know what I mean? And then I thought, put him up anyway. And I've put him up and he's gone like over 100k. And I thought, fucking hell, you're meshing. But what? So then you start, and I think you know this yourself. I think for me, I do anyway. I've learned this. I think I've started noticing what my audience like, and what they want. Do you like a bit of comedy? Do you like a bit of diversity? Do you like a bit of crime? Do you like a bit of see, I'm all like, you've had Paddy the Baddie on. I've had, you know, we've had Paddy. Paddy's always a good guest, isn't he? He's a very intelligent and likeable kid. I like the fact that I can identify with boxers, comedians, criminals, who are reformed. And your everyday addicts you've went from like
well that's what this podcast is, isn't it? From my understanding of it, is people telling their story no matter who they are.
Exactly.
And that's unique in its own way. Is we'll have anyone on and everyone's got a story to tell. And that's what certainly TV production companies haven't got a fucking clue about. Everyone's quite interesting if you give them enough time to talk about their life. Do you know what I mean? Our show, what we did from day one, we decided we were going to be the funny show. Try and be the funniest podcast. So we're not the most interesting, we're not the most well-read, we're not the most intelligent. You're not going to learn about who to vote for politically. We're both very lefties and, you know, fucking hate the Tories and whatever. But we're not going to drill it down anyone's throats. We'll hint at it every now and then. They're all cunts, whatever. But make people laugh. And the way I want to make people laugh, Dan Nightingale, who I do my podcast with, if you've sort of seen me before and you don't know who Dan is yet, go and check his stand-up out, right? He is one of the best comedians I've ever seen in my life live. And he's never really had a break. He's never been given a chance. He's never been able to do a tour. And because of our podcast, he can now. Yeah. He's phenomenal, right? So the guy with the beard? He's got a bit of a growth, and he's bald. He wears the cap and the glasses. Yeah. I thought from day one, if I can make Dan Nightingale laugh, then people at home are going to be pissing themselves. So let's try and make him laugh. And his idea was if he can make Adam Rowe laugh, people at home are going to be pissing themselves. So that's all we do every week, is we try and make each other laugh. And we know that if we're laughing, people at home definitely are. Because to make a comedian laugh is harder than to make a layman laugh, right? And then we get guests in. And most other podcasts, if you're a guest on it, you're being interviewed. It tells your story, what you think about this, whatever. We say to our guests, it isn't an interview. We'll ask you a few questions and whatever. But what it is really for us is you're coming to join in with our bullshit. Just come and have a laugh. Come and sit on the couch and add into what we're already talking about. Yeah. That's all we want you to do. So we're not going to be like, oh, so how did you get into comedy? What was your first gig like? What's your worst gig like? We're not going to ask the questions that you got asked on the podcast you did yesterday. Fuck that. We'll ask you what you think about Saudi Arabia buying Newcastle. And that's the clip that went viral last week and did over 1 million views. Because for an industry that is meant to be full of funny people, comedy podcasts by comedians are often dull. I like them because I'm a comedian. And as I said before, I want to know what Bill Burr does. I want to know how he works and what his process is. But not everyone does. And what people really want from comedians is to be made laugh, and there's not really enough of it. There's not really many podcasts that are just trying to make you laugh. So we were like, we can fill that gap. without asking any questions of the guests. Just come and be funny. Come and do what you want to do. We say to our guests, if you've got a stand-up bit that you can do, sat down, do it. If you can do it to us and it's still funny, something you'd do on stage, do it. And we'll cut the clip out, we'll subtitle it for you using the production team, and we'll get it to you. And then that means the guests are putting it on their social media, and it's driving more people to us. And it's all part of this one big ecosystem and plan. And it's fucking working.
Brilliant.
Because there's no one else doing it. There's other people just being like, oh, so where are you gigging next week? No one gives a shit. Put it in the ticket link and no one's asked. You don't need to say that out loud. Write it down for them. If they want to see it, they'll go and find it. Just be funny. Make people laugh. That's what we've done from day one, and that's what we're going to continue
I think, I agree, because I think from day one, that's all I've ever done is come and turn up without any questions. I don't really do research on guests, right? I don't really. Now and then, if I've got a couple of minutes before I start, I'll have a little look online. Yeah. I'll go, okay, just so I've got a little bit of information, and I'll come and turn up and I'll go, okay, so let's start from the beginning. And like we say, we went on a tangent, we just went walking down the road. We were in prison, both of us, for a minute, right? It's just, it's more authentic when you haven't got those questions written down, right? Because it's all
just conversation, isn't it?
See, and I got to a stage where I was repeating my story over and over again, and people love a great human interest story. You know, they love adversity and the austerity and how did you overcome like the barbaric situations you were in. I can tell you that I slept next to dead bodies, and you know there was thousands of us in this prison, and it was this, that, and the other. Because you've never been there, so you're picturing what it was like in your mind, right? And your vision of it is like, fucking hell, how did you survive? And the reality is, I had no choice. I just had to keep breathing, keep moving forward. There was nothing anything superhuman or different. I'm trying to explain to these people, there's nothing different about me than there is you, right? If you were in the same situation, you'd have survived a different way, right? I did it my way, and it was quite... I had a lot of consequences because I was reacting a lot. I'd say I bite pretty quick, you know, and I try not to as much no more. If like I said to you when I sent you that message, what the fuck, you know? No, I get like, is he blanking me? I sent it to John May the other week. I said to him, I said, are you fucking blanking me? And he went, you blanked me. And that was like, there was a double blank. You know? I don't know what it is.
I'm a twat for getting back. My dad hates this as well. Like, there's 4 messages from the last 2 days from my dad. I need to text him back because he asks innocuous questions. So I'm like, I'll reply to that in a bit. And I'm bad ADHD. Like, I've never been diagnosed, but it'd be a fucking quick conversation with a doctor. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you message me, right, and I'm on Twitter and it comes through, because that's where you've been messaging me, I'll go, I'll message you back. And then my bear will go, oh, did you put that bin out? And I'll go, oh, I'll do the bin. And that's gone then. And then the next time I open my phone is because she's gone, oh, did you send that email? So I'll go on, I swipe Twitter off because that's not in my head anymore. And then 20 minutes later, I've forgot that I was ever meant to, or in my head I've already messaged you back because I was doing it, and I can't turn it off. And I'm going to need to go to a doctor or something and be like, I need to some sort of help with this.
I'm the opposite. I'm like, I'm taking this personal. Where the fuck where does he live? I remember bumped into you in town. I was thinking, oh yeah, I'll ask him now.
But do you know what? I'm exactly the same as you. If someone blanks me, I'm like, who the fuck are you blanking? Fucking message me. I'm hard to message someone back. I'm exactly the same. I'm still like, that's fucking rude, and I know it's rude what I'm doing, but I actually can't help it.
But you know something, right? And I understand, because I can get messages and DMs, and sometimes I can't answer them all. I like to. Like, it's just a question that's not really relevant to anything at all, apart from, you know, I like what you're doing, and I enjoy your videos with your brother and stuff like that. I kind of like just put a like, you know, it's nice to just acknowledge it. But then it's like when there's like questions. Someone sent a little message today on YouTube about, can you send me your email? I've got I need a bit of guidance around my addiction. I don't mind that, right? Because it's supporting someone else who might be struggling in that area. And I hope you send me that email, my mate. Probably reply to you by the time this video goes out, like, you know what I mean? Because it's going to go a while. But it's just fucking crazy, and I think we live in a world of oversensitive egos. Or definitely. I'm the same. I need help myself, and I like what you said earlier on. I get really intolerant. You know, when I'm lying at home, and it takes me fucking forever to wake up. My bird will have a pulse surprise. She'll say this. She'll watch fucking. She'll edit it. She's like, I've got a pulse surprise fucking novel getting read to me, basically, right? About what she's going to do with the day. And I can't fucking cope. I'm like, oh mate, stop it.
My missus, if she's awake, she's up now. Second she opens her eyes, she's like, oh, it's time for the day. Yeah. I wake up in stages, mate.
I do.
Right? Yeah. So I don't open my eyes for the first 20 minutes after I wake up. Yeah. Like, my brain's on, but I'm still like, I know I'm awake, but I'm still there. And then like 20 minutes later, I'll open my eyes and I can see she's already on her phone planning the day. And then as soon as she sees that I'm even awake, she's on to me. She's like, what are we going to do today? I'm like, you need to fuck off. You need to brush your teeth as well first. You go and sort that out. And I'll have a little think while I'm doing it. But she's immediately got this energy for the day. And I don't know how it... Because I need an hour minimum. Like, to be awake and functioning, I need 20 minutes to not even open my eyes, 20 minutes of lying down with my eyes open. Yeah. Then I need a piss and a big fart and I brush my teeth. And then I need a coffee or a cup of tea or a slice of toast or something just to wake up. Yeah. She's ready to go out. If she wakes up at 7:02, she could be in a taxi going wherever she wants to go for the day. If I'm up at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is rare, it's 11 before I'm going anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
I've got, mate. That's like the immediate, like, the energy's like, oh, and then I feel like, oh, she's watching this now. Like, I feel like just saying, just slow down.
Yeah.
You know, give me
just give me 5. Yeah. Just fuck off. Like, I love you so much, but I'll love you so much more if you don't talk for like 5 minutes. Just leave me to just...
I think I struggle, right? The both times I struggle is probably like in the morning early, and then I'm out on the day doing what I need to do, and then come like 7, 8 o'clock, the little boy, he's like running across the window ledge and he's trying to climb. He's everywhere, you know what I mean? He's at that age now, he's 18 months, and he's it's great to see what he's doing, and I love the bones in him. But it's tiring as well, and then by the time I'm in bed, and then you get asked the question, and it's like, when can I ask you a question? I don't think there's a good time unless do you ever find a time where there's a good time? And
also, the questions your girlfriend asks, they never actually want to know the answer to. They don't really want to know what you're like. I remember a couple of months ago, I was literally just lay there. It was late at night, right? And I'm just sort of lying there, like awake like that, and my brain's just going. She's been in bed for ages, and she goes, "Oh, what are you thinking about?" I went, nothing. She goes, no, you're not. I can tell, because I love her, and we've only been together like 9 months, but we've sort of planned our lives. You know what I mean? We're at that stage of our lives where we're like, we hope this is the one that lasts, sort of thing. So in my head, I'm going to be with this woman forever. Do you know what I mean? Which on paper is a good thing, innit? That you found that person, but not when your anxious brain's kicking off when you're going to sleep. She goes, what are you thinking? I went, oh, not. She went, you are thinking something. She went, just tell me the truth. Doesn't matter what it is. And I said, I'll never fuck a Spanish girl now, and it's your fault. Right? And she was like, that's disgusting. I was like, you asked. I didn't want to fucking tell you. I'm just sitting here thinking, I've only ever slept with white women, so I'll never get to sleep with like a Latino girl now, and you've done that to my life because I'm going to be with you forever. I'm never going to cheat on you, so I'll never get to sleep with a Latino woman, an Asian woman, a black woman, and it's all your fault. She was like, that's horrible. Why would you ever be thinking that? I was like, my thoughts are for me. I wasn't going to articulate it. I was never going to say it out loud, and you asked me twice, so I told you, and we didn't speak for about 2.5 days.
No, I get it. I've been in a situation where, like, I've said something, and I thought, and I've looked, and I could see her face, and I'm thinking, oh, she's not fucking happy. I go, you're alright? I go, yeah. And I go, I know you're not.
Yeah.
You know, just know you're not. And I go, you know, you're not. What's wrong? Nothing. And then you go, she won't tell you because the way you react.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, you can't. I'm in a place. Sorry, Michelle. I know you'll be sitting there now, typing away at this. But yeah, sometimes we can't win for losing. But it's great that we can identify, and we find out that we're not alone. There's a lot of people out there that can understand and relate to this, because it's just normal stuff. You know, I'm getting to an age now where I think, you know, I'm fucking 48. I'm not going to be like chasing fucking relationships for the rest of my life. I think it's quite difficult, like, being in one and maintaining it, and having to deal with everyone else's behaviour.
Yeah,
you know, then to put a new pair of slippers on and have to go down the road and do it again. It's you know, it's not. It doesn't work like that. Maybe when you're younger, you can do that, like your teens and your early mid, your 20s or whatever, and I can travel the world looking for myself, and I find myself back home. basically. And someone said, well, why don't you just cultivate the grass under your own feet instead of trying to find out whether the grass is greener over there? Because for me, it was always like, there's got to be something better, there's got to be something better. Now, I love my missus, I really do. And I get to a point where I've lived my life as a high extremist. I am a world-class card-carrying fucking extremist. I've lived that way of life. It's been really fucking out there with it. I've done things that, you know, you couldn't even imagine and survived. Than to actually like be at home, sitting at home, watching the Squid Game.
Yeah.
With your little boy sitting next to you.
Yeah.
And everything's it's calm and it's trying to be relaxed and you're trying to like just get by. It's just a whole different new world. You with me? You've gone from segregation units and foreign prisons
to sat there watching the telly with a kid.
Yeah, to sat there watching the telly with a kid and having a family life.
Yeah.
It's dead. It's
jarring.
It is jarring, and it's trying to explain that without making it sound as if like you're ungrateful.
No, you're not ungrateful. It's just like it's something that a lot of people who haven't been through it wouldn't understand. Is like it's hard to adjust, isn't it? Like when your life's been wild and all over the world, and especially people who've had violent lives and stuff, to be sat there being Mr. Family Man after being through stuff and seeing things that other people would never even dream of seeing. It's jarring. And if that's the life you know, it's very hard to just be okay or like mentally stable with the exact opposite of it.
Yeah, but like also growing up in a household where all my brothers and sisters, are all effing and blind and are fighting with each other and causing murder, to actually being in a relationship with like the children, and there's two kids, one's nearly 15 and one's 11, that I've never swore. Ever. Wouldn't know what a swear word was.
I don't know how I'm going to handle that,
That, and then it's like, oh. And I'm getting told off if you actually make an error. Like, say, oh fuck, hey,
See, I've sort of hinted at this with me missus already. If we ever have kids, our kids are going to swear. Because I use fuck as a comma. Do you know what I mean? In a sentence. Like, I can't turn it off. And at work, I'm encouraged to swear because it makes punchlines funnier. So I can't turn it off.
The emphasis in it.
So my kids are going to be swearing. They're going to be dragged in with the headmaster going, he called someone else in the class a fucking gobshite. Well, was he being a fucking gobshite?
Well, I think, my little boy now, you see my face there?
Yeah.
He clawed the face out of me. But he went to a baby club this morning and I left him with a friend of the family. And she took him to this little baby room. She said, he's causing murder in there. He's hitting people, he's robbing things off them. And I think, mate, so I told her this morning. She went, I don't know how to deal with this. I've never experienced this. I've had two kids that have never been like that. This one's a little bit
a little bit different.
Yeah, he's a bit off key. Why is he doing that? But I think it's maybe because I've got him sat on my lap and I'm teaching him how to box and I'm taking the punches on the chin and not the scratches, like, but I don't know. It's just it's just different, isn't it? It's different.
Yeah.
Kids do change your life though, Adam, and if you do have one of me, it is an amazing. I had my little boy late. I've never had kids before. I was told I could never have them after a certain age. And I've got this bouncing little baby boy who's just a little miracle, and he's incredible, and it's beautiful to see him like grow and be able to nurture him. Yeah. That just amazes me. Siren as well,
Yeah, I've spoke to Dan, who I do the podcast with. Obviously we were with him twice a week. He had a baby not that long ago. It's his second kid.
Yeah. And
I just can't get my head around how hard it is. So I always like winding Dan up. I like trying to pretend that I think it's going to be easy, because I feel like he's exaggerating at times, and I know he isn't. Do you know what I mean? But I'm just like, I'll deal with it when it comes around. I feel like I can cope with it. I do want kids. Yeah. It's going to be a few years. Got a few sort of more mountains to climb with comedy first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it will be quite life changing for me. It's going to be weird because comedy's the most free you can be.
Yeah.
As a person, it's the freest they'll let you be. Traveling the world. If I get offered a gig tonight in fucking Petersburg, I can go because I haven't got any responsibilities. If I get offered a tour in America, I can go because I've got no responsibilities. Kid takes all that away. Yeah. So I need to, as much as I want kids, I need to wait until I'm not going to resent them from holding me back from opportunities. So I need to get the opportunities first, and that's my plan.
Yeah, because I think you need to understand that, like, you know, you're only a child once, so it's important to make that childhood memorable, you know, for that kid. And I've learned that it's like, for my childhood was not very memorable. I'm not like playing the victim. Oh, it was this, it was that. It was just tough. It was difficult. There was 6 of us. I was the oldest, and you know, I had to kind of become an adult before my time and take care of me 5 younger siblings, especially a brother who was, you know, he has autism, and he was quite like, it was quite difficult. It was difficult to get hold of. So it was quite, it was like, I felt it was robbed, and I don't want to be that dad who's having to rob his child's childhood because of what happens to me. Which,
yeah, well, that's what your sort of goal is. I think that's the goal of any parent, isn't it? Is to sort of give the kid the life that you wanted.
Yeah,
that's what everyone tries to do. My childhood, you know, was quite good at times, or I like to think it was. But like, you know, my mum was a severe alcoholic, bottle of vodka a day, and then eventually 2 bottles of vodka a day until it killed her. And my dad likes to drink as well, and they split up when I was about 10, I think. Yeah. And I blamed myself for that for a while, because I made a comment that caused an argument between my mum and that argument is when they broke up. So that's where my fucking issue, that's why I'm on stage. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's where mine goes back to. But I had to sort of become the adult before my time as well, because I've got a little brother who's 4 years younger, and you know, as much as my dad was always there, and he's a great dad and always has been, you know, he didn't live with us for a large portion of my mum's illness and battle with ale. So I had to deal with that as well. My mum always did her best, but then it got to a point where that still wasn't good enough anymore. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And we had to move in with my dad. Like, something I think of a lot. I was talking to a mate about it, another comedian called Eshan last week, about like my relationship with alcohol. Yeah. Because when you grow up with parents who are alcoholics, or my mum was definitely an alcoholic, my dad is a drinker. That's what he'd call himself. He wouldn't call himself an alcoholic. He just likes to drink. When you grow up with people like that, often you go one of two ways. Either you do the exact same thing, and because being an alcoholic is what you've grown up with, you just end up on yourself, or you don't drink at all. And I'm not really either. I'm a very social drinker. I'll go for a pint with you or anyone else. Won't really drink in the house on my own, ever. Unless like I've had the lads round for a game of footy, I'll have a few drinks with them. Drinking in the house, certainly on my own, has never been something I've wanted to do, because I've seen what it can do. And even last night, like, we got #1 podcast in the country, and I was like, we've got to have a drink for that. So I rang Carl, I was like, do you want to go out? And he'd had some bad news yesterday. Carl was like, I can't really be arsed, lad. So I spoke to my missus, was like, I might have a beer when I get in. She was like, all right, sound. But she was in bed, so I just had a cup of tea. Because I'm like, just reached the pinnacle of UK podcasting, and I'm sat there with a cup of tea and a few audios. Yeah, that's how I've dealt with. But it'll be in. I was talking to my mate Eshan the other day, and he was like, do you think you'll ever not drink? And I was like, I think once I've got kids, I'll probably scale it back a lot. And I might stop. You never know, I might just go, fuck it, or I won't drink around them or whatever. I don't know though. I might just carry on exactly as I am. It'll be interesting to see how having kids affects me mentality with that, but I'm just a social drinker, whereas alcoholism is riddled throughout my family.
Shame. Yeah, I think I couldn't, it was only for me to call himself an alcoholic. I couldn't call him one, but he drank a lot, and it was a hell of a lot, and it caused a lot of problems. And I always said to myself, I'll never be like him.
Yeah.
But I went down a different path and started taking drugs. Now, I haven't took drugs or drank alcohol. I've maintained abstinence now for over 4 years, which is it's been a journey. I've chose not to drink or take drugs because the consequences for me are quite severe. It's not like I'll go and have a drink and then I'll go home, where you can go home like that, which was I was listening. Go home, you want a bevy, you want to celebrate something. By the end of the night, you're having a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Right. I'd probably do the opposite. I'd be going out, I'd have a drink. I don't know where that drink would take me. I'd probably end up in some crackdown on Kenny or Shield Road somewhere, right?
Yeah.
With a brash, right?
Yeah.
Round a bend.
Yeah.
That's where my using goes. Next episodes, I'll be in a shell in Walton, writing letters to me bed, going, I'm sorry about everything I've done. You know what I mean? It'll never happen again. I've done it. It's been like that. It's been like
a cycle.
A cycle, a pattern. till I broke that in 2004. My dad passed away. And it must be tough for your mum as well to lose your mum at an early age.
Yeah, so I was 21. My brother was 17, and it was quite a weird moment, to be honest with you, because so she'd been in hospital, because of the effects of the alcohol for a while, in 2012, right? So the whole of 2012, she's in pretty much intensive care in the Royal. She comes out of intensive care towards the end of it, and the bottom half of her right leg was dead, so they had to cut it off. So she had a below the knee amputation, ended up in a wheelchair, and then she couldn't go back to the house that I grew up in Dovecot, so they gave her a bungalow, and she was in that bungalow from the January of 2013 until she died in the September. And as far as we knew, from when she went in the hospital, she'd stopped drinking. They'd got her off it, and we found out the day she died that she'd actually never stopped. But it was a sudden thing, because as far as we were concerned, she was in recovery and she was all right. And I remember the morning my dad woke me up. So he goes, Adam, wake up and go downstairs. And the second I opened my eyes, I don't know how, but I knew my mum was dead. He went, Adam, wake up. And I was like, and I knew what it was. It's very strange. And my dad comes down, he then goes and wakes my little brother up. And he comes down the stairs and he looks at me and I went, is my mum dead? And he went, yeah. And then he burst out crying. I didn't react at all. My little brother comes down and goes, what's going on? And he sees my dad crying. I was like, my mum's dead. And he burst out crying. And I never really reacted to it. And I don't think I've ever really dealt with it.
Yeah.
To be totally honest with you. And I'd like to. I'll probably go to therapy at some point. I'll probably go and see a therapist and try and, figure out whatever it is there.
I think what you're doing, right, is you're being there for your brother and your father at the time.
I definitely did that at the time. Yeah. That's definitely what it was.
It sounds like your mum passed away 6 to 8 weeks before my dad, because my dad died in 2013 in November.
Yeah.
Right, and it was, I remember it well, similar circumstances, but I was in the hospital with him. He had cancer. It was sudden, because as soon as he had cancer, within 6 weeks he was gone. It was like, wow. It wasn't like a long drawn out illness. It was like, your dad's got cancer. The family are going every single day to the hospital, so this can't be good, right? Went there, and the day he died, I'll tell you what happened, Adam, right? And I've shared this before. It was 28 minutes past 10 in the morning, right? The whole room was full. The family was there, and we all had hold of his hands. And when he passed away, the whole room just went, something missing, something left the room. It was just like weird. It was dead odd. Like the energy had gone. I went cold for a minute, and then it was back to normal. Everyone felt it. My brothers and sisters, because I'd been dealing with I'd been processing this daily. Right, I know he's going. My sisters were all being dead brave and not like and showing any kind of emotion whatsoever. The minute he passed away, everybody broke down. Just literally just fell apart. And I think I was the only one who was in that room that was like, okay, so what have I got to do now for the rest of the family? How can I be there for these, instead of thinking about myself and going, oh, woe be me. And I just started standing in place and letting everyone know that if they needed to talk to someone, then I was there. And I think as I've processed it, I don't know if this is any without yourself, like going like, is your mum buried and is she in the cemetery?
Buried, yeah.
Yeah, so I go to the cemetery, and I think the first couple of times I went to the cemetery, just visit like a gravestone, and just a look and go, it's just a hole in it's just in the ground here, you know what I mean? What do we do? And I was really, I started to feel it. So every time I went, I was getting like peeling the layers off an onion, and I started breaking down. Till eventually I can go now and just have a laugh. Take my brother, because I take my brother every like birthday or any kind of special occasion, and then I took my little boy there. I think that's how I processed it, But it will, I'm not a therapist, being in the receiving end of therapy for most of my life, so I know what the experience is like. I know they try and get through to it, but I think that is important in the process of like healing, because we do dismiss and push things away.
Yeah, I don't really know what I've done with it or whatever.
It's there though, it is there.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely there. I just don't know how to bring it out, and I'm going to need a therapist to do that, and whenever I'm ready to take that plunge, I'll do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just haven't got round to it yet, to be honest with you.
It is frightening. It is a scary kind of experience when you've got to go through that, because it's an unnatural feeling. So it's just like, for me anyway, I've been like, my dad told me growing up, don't you show any feelings, don't go out there, don't you cry, right? If there's a fight, get back out there. I was like, fucking hell, I can't even give myself permission here to feel fucking pain or heartache or hurt. So I'm sat there paralysed to the sofa while he's looking at me going, fucking hell, how do I react? So I lost all, but it was, I got desensitised, dehumanised. I didn't know how to feel. So I was like a fucking ball of barbed wire. I was very volatile and I reacted to everything. And instead, they say, don't they, like there's a thin line between anger and vulnerability. Now, for me to become vulnerable was quite unfamiliar. So I'd step into anger. And I'd react with anger. Fuck up. But being angry is also, now that I know, you hurt. It's just a hurt person. Like you see, there's a few fucking kids who are on podcasts. Well, there's one particular shouting this off, exposed that, I'll fucking do this, that and the other. I think, lads, you're just really, really traumatised by shutting. You really hurt. And instead of me reacting and responding to what he's saying about me, I think this kid just needs a hug. But I'm not the one to give him one.
I do that quite a bit with like trolls now. So it depends what mood I'm in, to be honest with you. But like if I put like a clip out of me stand up, you'll get the odd, like you'll get 99.9% of, oh my god, this is hilarious, and they'll share it, whatever. But you get the odd one going, oh, it's fucking fat, unfunny, cock-eyed twat.
Cheeky bastards, aren't they?
And I'll just like sometimes I'll be audible because I'm in the mood to be audible. But sometimes I'll just reply and be like, mate, I hope whatever you're struggling with, you get to the bottom of. Good luck with it. And the amount of times I've done that, and then you get a DM from them going, mate, I'm really sorry about that comment.
I was probably pissed off, fucking reacted.
Like people, it's so disarming. If someone's audible to you and you're just really nice back to them, it's really, really, really disarming. To have them go, oh, because they can't be audible again.
No, when I learned this years ago, someone said to me, Bill, you put two boxers in the ring, they're going to fight. Take one out, he's on his own. There's nothing to fight with, right? He's fighting against himself. So don't get in the ring with someone. Right, so anyone who ever does that, I just go, nice one, thanks for watching, I appreciate your support. Keep it simple. You know, I'm not going to get into that tit for tat, you said this and you're that, and okay. You know, I get them saying this, that and the other, and I go, it's untrue. I think lies need to defend themselves. Right, the truth will defend its own cause. You know, I really believe in that. A lie needs to defend itself, and the truth just defends its fucking own cause. You know what I mean? So that's important. So, yeah, it is difficult. People who have got, you got someone.
It was my auntie calling me.
Auntie, what's happening? So, what are we on now, Adam? How long have we been at this?
Hour 20.
Have we? Brilliant. Right. So, I didn't expect that, to be fair. So we'll just bring it close to an end in a minute. Anyway, we'll know we've been doing really well. I think we've gone right on. Right into it. Didn't expect it to go on the way it did, to be fair, because I come here thinking I've got a fucking clue what to ask Adam. I asked him to come on a podcast. He had a plan to do with another person. We were going to do something like we got news for you, because we did something which was okay. We enjoyed it. It was quite funny. Just like current affairs, you know, what was going on, and it was alright. But I've really enjoyed.
Me too.
This little interview. So, what's happening going forward?
So my episode of Live the Apollo will go out November, December. I don't know the date yet.
Is that on the celly?
Yeah, BBC Two.
Welcome, brilliant.
And then UK tour early next year. So that goes on sale the end of October from adamrowe.co.uk/shows if you want the specific thing. And if you want a funny podcast, Have a Word. So youtube.com/haveawordpod. It's on all the podcast platforms as well. It's me and another comedian called Dan Nightingale. You know, you're not going to.
I'll be putting all your socials in the description, and I'll be tagging everything in there. So I always say this, and I think it's only been once or twice that I forgot to say it. Right? Is there any pearls of wisdom? Right? Anything you'd say to a young, although you're young still, right? To a younger Adam Rowe walking through the doors of life now, what would you say to them?
Just don't worry about what anyone else is doing. That was that changed everything for me. That was like when I started stand up, and I had a couple of mates who I started with, and they started doing slightly better than me earlier on. Not like getting better reactions. I mean, they were getting more work, and I sort of resented them for it. Yeah. Me mates, because I was like, why are they getting stuff that I deserve? It doesn't matter. You just got to do your own thing, play your own game, and just do whatever you want to do, and you will find. I'm sort of talking to another comedian, I suppose. You will find an audience if you do what you want to do and actually stick to it. Because if you find it funny, someone else does as well. And it doesn't matter how small that audience is. You only need 1,000 fans, and you're set for life. If you can find 1,000, and there's 1,000 out there.
I like the fact that you brought that up, because I've got to be honest here, right? And I like your honesty in that area, right? There's times when I thought to myself, why are they doing better than myself? And instead of going, you know what, he's right, fucking well done, you deserve it, you're putting in a shift there,
But even if they don't deserve it, it doesn't matter.
No.
Like, there's enough success out there for everyone
to
have a piece of it. There's enough podcast listeners, there's enough followers, and if you get resentful towards someone who's doing better than you, it doesn't hurt them.
No. It's like
it hurts you.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, and you can drink the poison and up days eye from it. Yeah. And I'm not here to compare myself with anyone else in the podcast platform. It's not asked. Wish you well. It's I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm fucking really am. I get one out every single week without fail. I've done that every single Friday since I've started, and it's difficult putting a shift in and having to get guests and get them all done and edited. Sometimes I can do 2 a week.
Yeah.
If I'm lucky, if I've got a good few guests in line, and when I'm on a roll, I work better under pressure. When I've got 1 or 2 guests left, I think, fuck, I better get out there, get on the road and do something. And I thank a lot of people out there that have supported me. James, there's a lot.
Yeah.
That I've actually, people who subscribe, people who follow, people who comment. I don't think I've really had any negative comments, to be fair, which is, and
even if you get them, like, anyone leaving negative comments on the internet isn't happy.
No,
they're not doing it because they think they're better than you. They know they're worse off. The only reason people are nasty and horrible to people they don't like,
because they're upset or
it's because something else is doing their head in. So if anyone's ever negative towards something I've put out, because if you hate something, if you see any comedian or a musician put something out and you think it's shit, you can just shut up. You don't need to tell them. And the only reason you would ever tell someone, I think you're shit, is if you're hurting from something else. You're taking your anger out on someone you don't know. Social media is awful for that, because everyone's sort of this faceless account rather than a person. I reckon maybe 1 in 50 of the comments I get is audible, and the other 49 are lovely. No one ever sells me something audible in the street. Everyone who comes up to me in the street, love your podcast, how can we get a quick selfie? Of course you can. I'll speak to anyone who wants to be nice to me. Brilliant. I've never had one person in the street go, I think you're fucking shite. Do you know why? Because everyone's a bit of a shithouse, really. And if they're behind their account, they're fine. And I understand it. But what people need to learn about online interactions is, on the end of any account, you were talking about your mate before, on the end of any account, if you're being audible and leaving a negative comment, there's a person reading it.
Yeah.
And just because you can't see the reaction in their face when your audible comment hits them, doesn't mean they don't get upset and they don't feel it.
Yeah.
And the argument is, well, if you're putting yourself out in the world, you've got to accept that people are going to say that you're shit. Why? Just shut up and keep it to yourself, or slag people off behind their back like a nice person.
That's what my mate says. He says, why would anyone put the energy into writing something negative?
Because they're miserable.
Because they're miserable, yeah.
And they're trying to drag you down to their level.
Yeah.
They're trying to drag you down to being audible to them, so that they can go out with the same. We're not. So crack on with your life. Sometimes I'll be a bit spiky back if I'm in a bad mood, because no one's perfect all the time. But most of the time, if I get a negative comment, you know what I do now? The fucking best thing that's ever been invented on Twitter, I mute them.
Yeah.
Because then they're just shouting into a black hole. Blocking them, they get to screenshot it and go, oh my god, he fucking blocked me, how good's that? It's a fucking embarrassing achievement. Mute them. They don't know you've muted them, you do, and they can tweet you forever then, and they're just shouting into a black hole.
But I like the fact that you said that, you the people that would say that, right, and on the street you'd see them, you just punch holes in them, but they wouldn't say fucking jack shit to you,
Yeah. Well, there was a lad, right, so there was a lad who was tweeting me abuse constantly, right? I was just like, every now and then, this was a few years ago before I'd sort of grown up a bit and learned that they were upset and whatever. Yeah. He'd tweet me sort of, I'd put a video out and he'd be like, fucking shite as usual. He didn't even follow me, so he was searching my account to find this shit, right? Yeah. And I'd clicked on his profile and it said Liverpool and whatever, and his name was Ben something. I won't say his surname because I don't want people to abuse him. But it was all the time. And I knew his fucking face because I was never like getting into it with him. But there was a couple of times I'd be like, "Will you fuck off?" You know what I mean?
You sausage.
But I knew his face, and I'll never fucking forget his face. And I was walking through town, and I seen him walking towards me, and he put his head down and put his hands in his pockets and walked past. And that's the perfect like metaphor for it, isn't it? Yeah. He was finding my account to reply to stuff to just be a gobshite as often as he could, and he has a chance to say anything he wants in the street, but he knows that he's greeting an actual person then, and he put his head down.
There's conflict then, isn't he?
And I just smiled as I walked past, and I wanted him to see I was smiling. I wanted him to, without me going, "You're that fucking gobshite," I wanted him to just know that I know who he is.
You're all right, lad.
Yeah. Shithouse.
Well, with that, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.